everyone, and welcome back to the Windham Voyager. My name is Natalie Jendrasco, and I am the host and communications director for the Windham School District. This podcast invites the public in to hear directly from our leading experts in different areas of public education. I also want to mention that this podcast is created in collaboration with our own digital media teacher, Mr. Adams. He will be in charge of recording and editing the podcast. Thanks, Mr. Adams. Today we're going to be learning a little bit about our overnight field trip opportunities at Windham Middle School. This is actually the first time that our students have the opportunity to participate in an overnight field trip, which is exciting for students and parents. With me for this discussion is Brenda Morrow, the principal at Windham Middle School. So thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. We're going to be talking about all things middle school. Particularly, we're really excited to hear about your overnight field trips, because once the kids get to middle school, that is actually the first opportunity, I believe, for them to be able to travel outside of the building and not come back that same day. Why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you. As Natalie said, my name is Brenda Morrow, and I'm the principal of Windham Middle School. I have been the principal of the school for 7 years. And I was an assistant principal prior to that for 6 years. So I have a lot of experience in organizing and putting together field trips for our students.
Now, and that whole time was with Windham, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how many years have you actually been with Windham?
I have been in the district for over 20 years. I actually started in 2002. There were 2 years that I was out of town because my husband was transferred for 2 years, and then I came back. Mm-hmm. So about 18, 19 years continuous.
You've really seen Windham completely evolve then at that point. Yeah.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yep, I organized the first field trip that we had to Washington, D.C.
Great.
Way back when, over 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now we go to Philadelphia this year, or last 2 years with our 8th grade. We're really excited to be able to go to Philly. So
tell me a little bit, so there's two overnight field trips, and one is in 7th grade,
Correct.
And one is in 8th grade.
Yes.
So let's talk about 7th grade first.
Awesome. 7th grade, we take students to Nature's Classroom,
okay,
which is a great outdoor activity for 3 days that the students go overnight to Freedom, New Hampshire, to Nature's Classroom. They have a great facility with wonderful counselors. It ties into our science curriculum.
Okay.
And throughout the 3 days, the students have experiences doing group activities in the field. They also explore the river and talk about erosion. They do aerodynamics, and they build things when you use a bow and arrow. Mm-hmm. They dissect baby sharks.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, kind of gross, but they love it. They love it. They study different types of animals, and they track footprints and try to figure out the different species of animals and explore. They actually do forestry as well. And they do orienteering, so they look at a map and they try to use a compass, and they have to complete navigational tasks. And a lot of this is cooperative learning, which is a great opportunity to get to know your classmates. A lot of team building and fun activities together. Yeah,
it sounds like, you're probably hanging with your kind of comfort friends, but it sounds like they put you in situations where you're kind of expanded outside of that normal group that you hang out with, or even in the classroom, right? Like once they're in the classroom, it sounds like they get to interact with their whole class as opposed to just their pods that they're in, right?
Absolutely. They're put into field groups that they're assigned to, but they mix up those groups throughout the time, that the duration of the field trip, mm-hmm. and they all eat together, and they talk about waste, and they talk about food consumption and where their food comes from.
So they're constantly learning the whole
time. And then they also sleep in a cabin.
Yeah.
And in the cabin, that can range from as many as, as few as 8 students to up to 25 per cabin.
Oh, wow.
Depending on the buildings that are available for us when we go, and the number of students that we bring with us.
Great.
So they love it. Nighttime is always a challenge with middle schoolers, mm-hmm. as far as going to sleep. So they're very tired when they come home, but it's definitely worth it.
That's great. Now, when they get there, the thing that I like about it is you can't predict weather, right? So you never know what they're going to get, but it's rain or shine.
Rain or shine.
Doesn't matter what is happening, they're going to be doing those activities, and I think that's a great thing for kids to learn, right? Like, you got to kind of just roll with it and make sure you make the best of it.
We do, definitely. No matter if it's pouring rain or bright and sunny, they're outside. And they really love it. In fact, they talk about it a lot. I mean, we do change up the activities. Last year we had a day where it was pouring rain, so we did more indoor type of activities. The counselors there do a phenomenal job of, spur of the moment changes and flexibility of different activities.
Right.
They also had game time. I mean, they had downtime where they could just socialize, and it's surprising how many kids know how to play different card games and teach each other the different card games.
Yeah. And it's completely like electronic free, right?
There are no cell phones, no electronics the entire time. And I have to say, I've never had any student complain. Because they're so busy and they're connecting with their peers and they're having a great time that they don't even miss the electronics.
Right. So we're in the studio at the high school, and it's interesting because we've heard high school students who also have opportunities after they leave middle school to do, traveling and stuff like that, but they always bring it back to middle school, and it's like a trip that they remember, and it's definitely something that they take with them. So
yeah, that's great to hear. And, we do it in 7th grade because the first year that they're at the middle school, we really want to build that team building, that collaborative work, get to know your friends, your peers, the people that you're going to be with, and learn how to struggle a little bit too when things are uncomfortable. When it is pouring rain and you're in the middle of a team building activity that you have to build a bridge and get everybody to one side, how are you going to work together?
Absolutely.
So it's great. We're looking forward to the 6th grade coming to experience that next year as well.
I think it's a good time, too, because a lot of times we see a lot of kids transitioning into the district right around 6th, 7th grade. So I think for them it's really nice to have that sort of bonding experience that they can say, we built a bridge together, even if they're not in the same classes, they can kind of connect, whether it's in the halls or in the cafeteria, to say, we did this together. It's a bonding experience, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. We love it. The kids talk about it a lot. They talk about it in 8th grade and, like you said, through high school.
Yes.
The nice thing, too, is they'll be like, oh, yeah, I went to nature's classroom with that kid, or I was in the cabin with that kid, and they're like, well, why not eat lunch together? Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not, right?
So it's been great. We do it in October usually. That's the time frame. So it's the beginning of the school year when they're kind of fresh, and it's the first time they've really changed classrooms too. They moved from only a couple teachers at center school to having 8 different teachers at the middle school. So they are exposed to a lot more students than their typical classroom that they had K through 6.
Absolutely.
So there's usually about 100 students or 120 students per team. So they really get to know others. And this is a great way for them to see students not only in the classroom, but outside the classroom.
Exactly.
To make friends.
So that's a really great recap of what the 7th grade students get. Now let's talk about the 8th grade overnight trip. What happens there?
The 8th grade goes to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and which has been a great trip for us because it ties directly to our social studies curriculum as they're studying the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. And the birthplace of the Constitution, being able to actually go to Philadelphia and see the Liberty Bell, see those things, they become real for them.
Right.
And it ties into our curriculum.
Yep.
It's also a really fun capstone experience for middle school to be able to go away with your friends. For 4 days. They go longer than Nature's Classroom, so they go for 4 days, and they have a blast.
Yeah. How long is because you're taking a bus, right?
We are.
How long is the bus ride?
To Philadelphia, I believe it's about 7 to 8 hours.
Okay, that's not
too bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
No,
and how do they do
at 6 a.m. and we're there in mid-afternoon around 1 o'clock.
And it's your go. You're in go mode.
We are. We go. The first stop is the zoo. That's where we went last year. We went to the zoo. This year, actually, we're going to the American Revolution Museum as our first stop.
That's really
cool. So we want to pack it all in. The kids are busy every hour.
That's really
for something
cool.
Until they crash in their beds at night.
Mr. Grattan last year sent me a video that we put on social, and it was them doing the stairs from the movie Rocky.
Rocky, yes.
And they looked like they were having so much fun because he kind of was panning to see all the kids, and the kids were just laughing and having such a good time, and they looked like they were having a ball.
They had
and learning, right? That's
and the Rocky movie is pretty old, but they all can relate to it. And they see that statue, and they all want to run up the steps. It's really fun.
Really
cool. It's been great. Yes.
So how many years have you been doing Philly now?
We've only done it one. This will be our second trip, so we're
And you guys
really
got
excited.
really good feedback from...
We did.
Good.
Yeah, the students really enjoyed it, and the teachers loved it because as they were going through the tours and the museums, they really could connect back to what they studied in the classroom. So there were a lot of connections that were made.
Which is huge, right?
It was huge. Part of the trip to Philadelphia is actually traveling to Gettysburg as well, which is a great tie-in because the students have studied the Civil War.
Right.
And they love going to Gettysburg, walking through the cemeteries, walking through the battlefields. We have great tour guides down there that make the battles come alive, and they actually learn how to, not physically learn, but they simulate loading a cannon and shooting a cannon across the battlefield, and they have to charge up the hill, which is really cool. The kids love it. Again, they're exhausted, but they have a really good time, and they get to visit the Shriver House, a home where the Civil War soldiers took over the home, and you can see the bullet holes in the wall.
That is so cool.
It is really cool. The kids love it.
I think that's part of why both trips, right? Like we know that kids are remembering these trips from 8th grade all the way to graduation, their high school graduation. And I think it's because they're able to tie in what they're learning in a book and they're actually being able to see it. And that just makes the connection that much easier for, I think, a kid to make. I think anyone to make, right? Once you are living the experience, it's so much easier to take a part of that with you and say, oh my God, I did this and I remember seeing this. And maybe when they get back to the classroom and they have to take a test on it, it's something easier for those kids to remember. So I think that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, 100%. They always talk about it. And it's really neat to see that aha moment when they make a connection of something they learned in the classroom and what they're actually seeing 100%. And kind of reliving with the tour guides and the museums that are there.
I can imagine that's probably a teacher's best moment is to see the
dream.
Light bulb come on, yes, here we go.
Yeah, they were listening.
Yes, exactly.
It's been great. Yes.
Now, when are you doing that trip again?
We go in May, the first week in May, right after the April break. Yes, we're very excited. We're in our planning stages and have a meeting next week with the parents.
Great.
Of kids, of course, the kids are more concerned of who are they rooming with.
Yeah, of course.
Priorities. And who's on my bus.
Right.
Than the actual visits, but we also make sure that we tie in some fun, too.
Good.
Besides the fun of learning and going to the museums, we have some downtime, too, and we go to Dave & Buster's and have a great evening there.
I'm sure they love that.
They do love it. So we have a really good night, and we actually keep them really busy. We don't get back to the hotel until about 9 o'clock, 9:30
So they
every
must just be ready to just crash at that point.
That's the hope, too,
right?
Yeah. To have tired teenagers. But everybody, again, it's another kind of bonding experience, too. They get to know their classmates in a different way.
Totally.
And they really enjoy it.
Very cool. So we're quickly approaching the end of the school year, and it sounds like you have a lot of activities planned and a lot of planning happening between now and the end of the year. Are there any activities or events that you want our families, whether they're incoming 6th, 7th graders or going into 8th grade, that you want to remind families about?
Yes, definitely. I would like to encourage all incoming 7th grade parents to come to our transition night, which is Tuesday, May 23rd at the middle school at 7 o'clock. They'll get a lot of questions answered about middle school in general, and we will mention the Nature's Classroom trip to them. Perfect. The 7th graders, I'd remind them when we have Step Up Day on June 14th that they can ask questions if they have any about our overnight field trips and about 8th grade in general. So we're hoping to make it a smooth transition for all students with some of those events.
So before we leave, and now that you have a captive audience, is there anything that you want to mention? Anything that's coming up soon that you want to make sure that people know about?
Just to probably, remind the incoming 7th graders, the current 6th graders, and the current 7th graders going into 8th grade to take advantage of these field trips. I encourage everybody to attend them because they really are a learning experience and a fun experience where you'll build friendships and gain a lot of knowledge. One cautionary thing for parents is if your child has never been on an overnight, have them do a sleepover before the trip.
Yeah.
And it reduces anxiety.
Yes,
because
that's a great tip.
Sleeping away for the first time is tough enough when it's your best friend's house than it is with 100 other kids in a cabin or a hotel. So if you haven't done a sleepover, I encourage you to do a sleepover before these trips, and again, encourage everybody to sign up because it's a wonderful experience for everyone.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed today's topic. We want your feedback. If you have any questions or are interested in different topics we discuss here on the Windham Voyager podcast, please email me at podcast@windhamsd.org. Thanks again for taking this voyage with me. For the Windham Voyager, my name is Natalie Jendrasko, and we will see you next time.